Hello, welcome to another video. Today we're doing something a little bit different. This is a product review. We've been sent all of this from Gamemat.eu. We have the Sands of Time gaming mat, which you can see underneath all this terrain. This is the Badlands pre-painted resin terrain, and the 15mm Modern Warfare terrain here, which was specifically designed to go with Halo Ground Command because it's the right scale. What we're going to do is we're going to do a review of the mat, compare it to two other mats that we have. We're going to do a review of, well, we're going to talk about the Modern Warfare terrain, and then we're going to talk about the Badlands terrain, and compare it with some of the stuff we already have, show you some models, both 40k and Halo, with the terrain, to show you all of that. And then we're going to set up the whole board, set up like it was a normal game we were going to play, put all the models on, we probably will have a game afterwards, and then show you what it looks like with the whole board set up. So we're going to move on to the first bit. Okay, so for this part of the review, we're going to compare three of the mats we have. So this one is Sands of Time. This is the one we got from Gamemat.eu, and previously I had these other two, which we're going to compare them against. So this is Urban Combat from Frontline Gaming. This is a fat mat, and this is Badlands from Deep Cut Studios. So we're going to get them all out, and we're going to basically compare them all in regards to how detailed the images are, and all of that, how thick they are, how durable they look. So we'll come back at that part of the room. Okay, so here we have all three of the mats laid out on top of each other. Now, a lot of it's going to be personal preference because of the actual design that's on them. Looking at these three, here is the deep cut mat. There's a lot going on this mat. You can see all the details all over it, but it's probably one of the more detailed mats of the three. However, on the Badlands one, so this is the one, sorry, the Sands of Time one, this is the one we got from Gamemat.eu. There are a lot of extra details. Here's a fallen pillar over here. I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera. There's like some ruins, but there's a lot of different details. We've got cracked sand here. We have some, as I said, some ruins, and you have the dry riverbed. The Urban Combat, the fat mat, again has some different details. You've got the roads, some little manhole covers, and then the kind of rubble for the rest of the city. So it very much depends on your personal preference. I think that the deep cut one in this case is the most generic. It is just the kind of Badlands. It's all detailed over the whole thing, but it's all one detail, and it has just one effect, which has no extras on it. So it's much more generic if you want to play like 4 or 5 different games on it. Whereas with the Sands of Time one, and again the Urban Combat one, because of the details added it, like the roads and these bits of ruins, they're more for a specific scale. With all of these three, so the Sands of Time one is £59, the Urban Combat one is £64, and the Deep Cut one is £55. So that means Deep Cut one's the cheapest, but you need to buy a bag for it, because all of these two come with bags, which makes it £1 more than the Sands of Time mat. Out of the three, the Urban Combat is the thinnest, the Deep Cut mat being the thickest one. They're all pretty hard wearing. They all seem like they'll last a long time, and all of them, if this doesn't mess horribly, and they are all waterproof. So you don't need to worry about spilling anything on them. Personally, I like them all. I would say that if you want to be more generic, go with the deep cut one. Oh, that one's actually left a stain on it. So the deep cut one is not waterproof. There we go. Whereas these are. So there you go. There's a bit of information for you. This one doesn't like water, so you could stain it if anything went over it. Whereas the other two don't care at all. They're completely waterproof. Anyway, so that's that part of the review. We will now come back to you in the next section. So here we have the 15mm Modern Warfare set from Gamemat.eu. This is everything you get in the set, and it costs £57.50, and postage and all of that. So this is all designed for Halo Ground Command, basically, which is a 15mm ground combat game. Excuse me. So in the set, 4 of these buildings, 4 of these, and all of these walls. Now, on the set that we've received, there's only one issue, and that's that tiny little bit there. Not really a big deal. So this is probably enough to populate a 6x4 board if you've got a few hills and a few rocky outcrops to go with it. We've actually got a few models here to test size-wise. So as you can see with these, move some of these out of the way. As you can see with these walls, the Warthog fits perfectly behind it. To the side, looks absolutely fine. If we were to compare it to the terrain you get from Spartan Games for Halo itself, it again is all about the right size. When I first got these, it did seem like they were maybe slightly out of scale because it's very hard to tell, but there's little hatches there which could be full doors, but I assume they're just like escape hatches or vents or anything like that. Here is a Spartan on top of that terrain there. We've got a few more stuff we can put around, and basically it all fits in very nicely. You might say that the set is a bit expensive, but you're just getting it all done. You don't have to do anything about it. You buy this set and you're ready to game. Here's a few more of the models that we have done. The infantry, I'll get rid of this, sit behind this wall, perfect height. Easily you can see through it, and it's gives them extra cover. Everybody can get into these little bunkers. Absolutely fine. And it's all it's all the right scale. If you look at this building here, the side, we put a Spartan there. That works absolutely fine. So we get the whole set. It's, as I said, it's probably enough to fill a board if you add in maybe the terrain you get with the starter sets and all the terrain you can buy from Spartan, all these little extra shields and everything like that. We will have a shot of our board laid out, ready for a game of Halo, with some of our models on it and some of the extra terrain on at the end. But I think this is a really good set. Many times I've been playing Wargame. I've been doing Wargaming for quite a while now, and getting terrain done is quite difficult. I normally end up painting far too many little spacemen as opposed to painting the terrain. So buying a set like this is really, really good. What we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the next set of terrain, so we'll be back in a second. Here we have the Badlands terrain from Gamemat.eu. So you buy this one set, and it comes in a huge box, and you get all of this with it. So as per the 15mm urban combat terrain, this is resin pre-paints. You get all of this in the box. It costs £93.90, which is quite a lot of money, but I'll run over why it's still a good deal in a minute. This is 28mm scale, so it's more designed around things like Warhammer 4000. Here is a Piranha, 4 scale, slightly converted Piranha anyway, so you can kind of see fits in reasonably well. Let's move it around. So with this set, you could probably buy maybe one of this and another one, or this and a few extras, and you have a 6x4 table kind of ready, really. Some of this stuff is quite big. It's line of sight blocking. You can really stick models behind it, and line of sight blocking stuff really helps war games. Generally, the more terrain you've got, the better. I'm probably going to be using it for Halo Ground Command along with the other stuff we've got, and because it's all just environmental, it's all natural-ish. You can put models with it that are maybe smaller scale, and it still kind of works because there are nothing like doors or vents or anything like that. So it works out okay, or it does in my opinion anyway. If you disagree, tell us in the comments, as per always. So yeah, here are some examples of the Halo Ground Command models that we've got, putting them around. And I think that those really kind of, they work just as well. You can fit a Warthog under one of those little arches over there. Same with the Ghosts. Scorpion probably be too big, but Scorpion's a big tank, so that's fine. And a lot of it, in fact, basically all of this is line of sight blocking in Halo. So that's great, because it means all these infantry that get obliterated by Ghosts are now going to be able to hide behind these rocks and be fine. So all that's great. I'm just going to grab a few of my old bits of terrain to kind of give you a comparison between this stuff and what I've been using previously to show you why pre-painted resin is great. Here is the pre-paint stuff with my venerable terrain. If you have watched any of the really old battle reports we did, you know, the ones where we couldn't use a camera properly or decided to be really great in 380, 360p, this is the stuff we use. So this is actually Games Workshop's own terrain. Yeah, this is like a, I want to say, administratum building and some craters, and then we've just put some flock on them. And it's not the best painted, it's not the best put together. We've used it in many reports, and it just kind of, it does enough. Obviously you can see the foam base we did on it, and now the white bits stick through. So I could probably do a lot better now. This was made years and years ago. If I made terrain myself now, I could probably do a lot better. To give you an example of stuff just made myself, here's a bunker, and here's some power plant kind of thing. Again, kind of foam bases made out of foam core, foam board I should say. You can see all that as it chips through and all of that stuff. This was just a bit of polystyrene packaging. I added a Necron bit to and put on the base. So while making it yourself is great, and if you have the time, and I mean, I just want to paint Space Marines. I just want to paint spacemen, spaceships, as opposed to doing the buildings and the bunkers and the terrain. But you really need that to have a good game. So if you are like me in that regard, then buying pre-painted stuff is just so much better. I can take this out of the box, put it on the board, and I'm done. You buy a map, you buy terrain, you're ready to go. Buying this stuff, or making it yourself, will be cheaper. You can get a lot of MDF terrain around that's out now, and some of that is really, really good. And again, that will be cheaper. Another alternative is things like, this is a Mantic Battle Zone, and these are pretty cool. These are all modular. You can, you know, take them apart and put them into different configurations. You can have a whole city of this, but I still had to build it, put it together, you know, paint it. And I'm more likely, like we got one of these and I thought it was great, and I haven't got any more at all. Like, even though I think it's great and it looks cool, I still haven't spent any more money on getting more of this terrain. And if I do buy a big box, I've got, you know, 60 Fire Warriors I need to paint as opposed to this, and I'm probably going to paint them before I paint the bits of terrain, or more bits of terrain. I think you can do GW stuff, as shown, same kind of thing. You have to build it, you have to paint it. I also feel like their range is really limited. You kind of get one of these, one that looks like it's a factory, you get some Aegis defense lines and some kind of like, you get the Fortress of Redemption, but you couldn't fill a board with Fortress of Redemptions. So you don't really want to fill a board of ones like these. The Mantic stuff's really good. It's actually not reasonably well priced. You have to build it. You have to build it, paint it. And you probably want to be painting your models, not realistically the buildings they fight over. And if you're great at building your own terrain, fair enough. More power to you. Definitely the cheapest way to do it. You can go crazy, build, you know, massive boards with loads of really cool terrain on it, if you can do that as opposed to building all your other stuff. So yeah, so that's why I would say that sometimes it's better to get the pre-paints, to buy this. This sort of stuff's all resin as well. I imagine this is going to be a lot harder wearing than this foam. I could probably break that right now. Not going to though. This is also 28mm, so as I mentioned earlier, so my 40k buildings will be being replaced by this resin stuff. And you won't get all this foam chips and everything coming off it like this, because it's all resin and it's all really hard wearing. So there you go. That's probably the reason I would go with the pre-painted stuff. Again, it's all personal opinion. If you feel different, if you've got a fantastic table with loads of really cool terrain that you've made yourself, or you like the Mantic stuff, the GW stuff, please tell us in the comments. And here is the final product. Here is our focus. There we go. Here is our board filled with the terrain from Gamemat.eu and using the mat from Gamemat.eu. We have added, as you can see over here, some of the terrain for the Spartan Halo terrain. And here we have all the models set up. There would be more Covenant, but they're not all painted. There are some Covenant invading over the dried up river to attack the UNSC position. We will be doing a battle report of this scenario with 2 starter sets, some extra tanks, the tanks, and a couple of extra vehicles when both armies are fully painted. All still on the assembly line, but here is a bit more of the battlefield. All this over here. So as you can see, we've basically been able to cover the majority of this board with terrain, and that's from just those two products from Gamemat.eu, and obviously the mat itself. So I really like it. I think it's great. We're definitely going to get some more. There's the little rocks which fit really well. I feel even though they're meant to be 28mm scale, they fit perfectly. You have the ghosts moving past this really big rocky outcrop, and the grunts are moving through this tunnel. So yeah, I think it's really good. I will be buying more. Obviously the price might seem a bit much if you want. You can get MDF stuff, which is a lot cheaper if you compare the two. The MDF is always going to be cheaper because it's not painted, not built, made out of a different product. I feel for resin made terrain, this stuff is reasonably priced. And it's that just whole, I take it out of the box, I put it on the battlefield, I'm ready to go. So you can spend much more time painting up these super cool models, the Warthogs, and the Marines, of course, the Spartans. So yeah, there you go. That is kind of our finished product review for this Gamemat.eu terrain set and mat. As always, if you have different opinion, if you want to ask us some questions, please feel free to add it into the comments. We're happy to open discussions and take any criticism on both the format of our videos and the product itself. So yeah, just let us know. Thank you very much for watching.